My girlfriend said, "If that coworker makes you so happy, go be with her." I said, "You first." She expected me to beg, not change the locks, print the threatening texts, and hand her sister a box of evidence. 2 weeks later, her mother was on my porch apologizing, and the police knew her name. Original post: I'm Mason, 34. Brooke is 31. We were together for just under 3 years, and for the last 8 months, she was basically living at my townhouse in Denver, even though the lease was still only in my name. I work as an IT project manager for a regional hospital network. Brooke worked in social media for a boutique fitness brand. On paper, we looked good. We both had decent jobs, we traveled well together, we liked the same restaurants, and we were at that stage where people started saying things like, "So, when are you two making it official?" The problem was Brooke had a jealousy streak that started small and got mean. At first, it looked almost flattering. A little pout if a waitress leaned too close. A joke about my ex liking an old Instagram photo. Side-eye when my phone lit up with a woman's name from work. The kind of thing people excuse because they don't want to seem cold. I excused it too. I told myself everybody has insecurities. Then it turned into rules. Don't like female coworkers' posts. Don't mention my college friend Jenna because Brooke thought that name lingered too easily in a sentence. Don't answer texts after 8 p.m. if the sender was a woman. Don't be too friendly with the women on my project team because according to Brooke, friendly men are men leaving doors unlocked on purpose. The thing about jealousy is it never stays the same size. If you keep feeding it, it starts asking for furniture. I adjusted more than I should have. I stopped commenting on friends' photos. I shared my location during work travel because Brooke claimed airports made her anxious. I let her scroll through my phone sometimes because I thought transparency might calm things down. It never did. It just trained her to believe more access was the cure for her imagination. It wasn't. The woman she hated most was Lee, one of my coworkers. Lee was 37, married, had 2 kids, and spent half her conversations talking about school pickups and orthodontist bills, which apparently made her suspicious because Brooke said women who act safe are the sneakiest kind. Lee and I worked together on a major software rollout. That was it. The night everything ended, my team had a client dinner after closing a miserable 3-month project. Italian place downtown. 7 of us there. Receipts on the company card. Group photo by the bar. Nothing weird, nothing hidden. I got home around 9:40. Brooke was on my couch in my sweatshirt with that very still look she got when she had already decided a fight was going to happen and was just waiting for my arrival to start it. She held up my phone. Lee had texted while I was driving. "Great job tonight. Client loved your presentation. Get some sleep. Tomorrow is going to be ugly." That was enough. Brooke asked why Lee felt comfortable texting me at night. I told her because we had a 7 a.m. call the next morning and had just left the same team dinner. Brooke asked why Lee always sounded so personal. I said that message was literally about work and sleep. Then Brooke showed me she had gone through the full thread. There was nothing in it except project timelines, screenshots, jokes about our impossible vendor, and 2 messages about one of Lee's kids breaking an arm during soccer. Brooke had still found a way to be offended. She said women don't text men that way unless the door is open. I said, "Brooke, if you can't tell the difference between teamwork and flirting, this is getting ridiculous." That word did it. Ridiculous. She stood up, threw my phone onto the couch, and said the line like she had been rehearsing it. "If that coworker makes you so happy, go be with her." I was tired, truly tired, not just from work, from the constant management of someone else's insecurity, from living like any harmless interaction with a woman might become a courtroom exhibit in my living room. So I looked at her and said, "You first." She blinked. She actually expected me to deny, reassure, explain, flatter, and negotiate. That had been the routine. My answer broke the script. I told her I was done, not because of Lee. Because I was exhausted from having to prove innocence every time a woman existed within 5 feet of me. I told her I would not spend my 30s being cross-examined over Slack messages and dinner receipts. I told her to gather what she needed for the night and the rest would be boxed tomorrow. She started crying immediately, but it was angry crying, accusatory crying. The kind that carries an indictment. So you're really choosing her over me? I said no, I'm choosing peace over this. She paced, then tried the softer manipulation. She said she only got jealous because she loved me so much. She said women can sense when another woman wants their man. She said I had no idea what intuition feels like. She said Lee probably enjoyed making her look crazy. That last one stuck with me. Brooke didn't want calm. She wanted agreement that her jealousy was wisdom. I told her again, it's over. She went into the bedroom, slammed drawers for 20 minutes and came back with an overnight bag, her makeup case, and the gold heels she always left by my shoe rack. At the door she said, when she dumps you, don't come running back to me. I said okay, not sarcastic, just okay. Then I locked the door and sat at the kitchen counter in silence. That silence felt strange at first, then expensive, then necessary. I changed the garage code, streaming passwords, and Wi-Fi before midnight. I also canceled the Breckenridge weekend we had booked for the following month. Lost $420 on the cabin deposit, kept the peace, fair trade. The next morning I bought moving boxes, packing tape, and labels. Total, $46.18. I packed her clothes, skin care bottles, curling iron, 2 framed prints, a yoga mat, a bag of chargers, and enough candles to scent a hotel lobby. By noon it was all stacked by the front hall. I sent one text, your things are boxed. I'll have them ready for pickup at 6. She didn't come. Instead, her sister Lauren did. Lauren looked embarrassed before she even spoke. She said Brooke was too upset to see me and wanted a day or two. I said fine, but the boxes were leaving my house tonight either way. Lauren loaded them into her SUV one by one while Brooke called me 9 times from a blocked number. I didn't answer. At 7:12, right after Lauren drove off, I got a text from an unknown number. You just destroyed a real relationship over office flirting. I hope she was worth it. I took a screenshot. Something told me I'd need to start keeping receipts. I was right. Update 1: the first 3 days after the breakup were almost peaceful. Then Brooke realized I was not coming back. That's when the flying monkey started. First, Lauren texted saying Brooke hadn't eaten properly in 2 days and was having panic attacks. I replied once that I was sorry she was upset, but the relationship was over and Brooke needed to stop contacting me through other people. Lauren actually said she understood. That lasted maybe 6 hours. By Thursday, Brooke's friend Tessa messaged me on Instagram saying I had emotionally abandoned an insecure woman and should be ashamed. I blocked her. 15 minutes later, another friend, Morgan, emailed my work address to say mature men reassure, they don't run. That one I forwarded to my personal email because once people start crossing from your breakup into your workplace, the situation graduates. Then Brooke went after Lee. Lee called me on Teams at 8:03 a.m. and asked, very carefully, why my girlfriend had just sent her a message calling her a desperate office snake. Brooke had found Lee on Facebook, then somehow on LinkedIn, and sent a paragraph about respecting boundaries and married women not texting taken men at night. Lee was furious, but also weirdly calm about it, which probably comes from being a mother of 2 boys and surviving years of chaos before breakfast. She forwarded me the screenshots. Her husband had apparently laughed and asked if Brooke wanted copies of their Costco membership too. I apologized to Lee once. She stopped me and said, Mason, this is not your embarrassment, it's hers. Save everything. So I did. By that evening, my folder had Brooke's blocked number texts, Tessa's message, Morgan's email, and the screenshots Lee sent. I also wrote down dates and times because I could feel this moving from unpleasant into something I might have to explain to strangers later. Friday night, Brooke showed up outside my townhouse. Doorbell camera caught the whole thing. She rang twice, then stood too close to the lens and said she just wanted 5 minutes to talk like adults. I used the speaker and said, Brooke, you need to leave. She laughed in that thin, angry way she had when humiliation was mixing with entitlement. Then she said, "So Lee can come over, but I can't." Lee was not there. No one was there. But jealousy doesn't need reality to operate. It just needs a target. I told Brooke again to leave. She said she'd sit there all night if she had to. So I called the building security patrol contracted for our row of townhouses. By the time the guard showed up, Brooke had shifted from angry to shaky and tearful. She did that often. Changed tone the moment there was an audience. The guard asked if she lived there. I said no. "Lease is in my name only." He asked her to leave. She did, but not before looking directly at the camera and saying, "I hope she's worth losing, someone who actually loved you." Again with the imaginary she. The next morning, my property manager emailed me because Brooke had called pretending to be my wife and asking whether any women were listed as emergency visitors on my file. That was the moment I paid $165 for a locksmith and rekeyed both locks. Technically, Brooke's key still worked until then. After that, it didn't. Saturday afternoon, her mother, Denise, called. I expected blame. I got exhaustion. She asked me quietly if Brooke had contacted one of my coworkers. When I said yes, Denise exhaled like someone confirming an old fear. Apparently, Brooke had done versions of this in 2 previous relationships. Not because she had evidence. Because she had suspicion and couldn't tolerate not being obeyed by it. Denise didn't defend Brooke. She just said, "I'm sorry she dragged you into one of her storms." That sentence stayed with me. One of her storms. Sunday brought the fake emergency. Lauren texted around 1040 p.m. saying Brooke had taken too many anxiety pills and was asking for me. That is the kind of message designed to override judgment. I didn't drive anywhere. I called 911 and sent the paramedics to Lauren's address. Funny how fast the crisis shifted. 10 minutes later, Lauren called furious that I had made it bigger than it was. Exactly. If it was real, Brooke needed medical help. If it wasn't, then Brooke needed to stop using medical fear as a leash. Denise texted me after midnight and apologized for that too. She said Brooke was physically fine and had only taken her regular dose, which meant the whole thing was theater with a side of emotional hostage-taking. Monday morning, Brooke emailed me a 6-paragraph letter titled "I can explain why I reacted that way." It was part apology, part accusation, part astrology chart. She blamed childhood instability, dishonest exes, the energy between Lee and me, work stress, and the fact that women can tell when another woman is circling. Not once did she say, "I violated your boundaries. I contacted your coworker. I lied. I manipulated." I didn't answer. I went to work, finished our rollout, got coffee with Lee and 2 other teammates like normal adults, and for the first time in months I realized how light my body felt when no one was waiting at home to turn my day into an interrogation transcript. That peace made Brooke angrier than any argument ever had. Update 2: about 2.5 weeks after the breakup, Brooke stopped trying to win me back and started trying to ruin the idea of me. That shift was actually helpful because it made the next step obvious. It started with HR. My manager, Nalan, asked me to step into a conference room on a Tuesday morning. Human Resources was on the call. Someone had anonymously reported that I was having an inappropriate relationship with a married coworker and using late-night project communication to cover it. I knew instantly where it came from. I told them exactly what had happened. Broke up with jealous girlfriend. She contacted coworker. She was now escalating. I sent over screenshots before lunch. Lee sent hers too. HR closed it the same day and documented it as malicious third-party interference. Nalan told me privately that if I needed a day off to deal with personal fallout, I had it. I thanked him and kept working. At that point, staying calm had become a form of self-defense. Brooke texted me that night from another new number, so HR knows about her now too. Good. That was enough for me to file a police report for harassment. The officer at the front desk didn't promise miracles, but he listened, took copies, and told me the same thing everyone sensible had been telling me: document, don't engage, escalate formally if she keeps going. I added the report number to my folder. Then Brooke found out I had gone on a date, not with Lee, with Harper, a friend of Nolan's cousin. We met for drinks at a rooftop bar in Lowdo. Easy conversation. No weird energy. Halfway through the second drink, Harper asked gently if my ex knew where I was. I said no. Why? Because Brooke was standing near the elevator pretending to be interested in the city lights. She had followed me. When she walked over, she ignored Harper completely and said to me, "So this is what you were doing while calling me unstable." I had never called her unstable. I had called her done. I stood up and said, "Brooke, leave." She laughed and said to Harper, "Ask him about Lee too. Apparently he likes a team rotation." Harper stayed calm. I asked the manager to remove Brooke and showed him my phone folder while we waited. Brooke kept going until security came. As they walked her out, she yelled, "You always needed female attention to feel important." That line told me everything. Brooke genuinely believed other women were the engine of my choices. She could not imagine I was leaving because of her behavior. Her jealousy had to invent competition because admitting responsibility would have required self-awareness. The rooftop manager emailed me the incident summary the next morning. I forwarded it to the officer and to an attorney I had consulted by then, Marisol. Retainer, $1,200 to start. Painful, but clarity usually costs money before it saves it. Marisol sent Brooke a cease and desist letter that week. It did not help. 3 days later, Brooke left a voicemail at 1:14 a.m. I still have it. Her voice was slow and almost cheerful. "I can see a woman's car outside. I hope she likes sharing." There was no woman's car outside. There was my neighbor's sister visiting from Fort Collins. But the point wasn't accuracy. The point was surveillance, or at least the performance of it. Marisol heard that voicemail and said we were done being patient. We filed for a temporary protection order the next morning. Between the HR complaint, coworker contact, repeated new number messages, doorbell footage, date ambush, and late-night voicemail, the pattern was clear enough for paperwork to finally start carrying some weight. Denise called again after Brooke got served. This time she was crying. Not because Brooke was being treated unfairly, because she was embarrassed it had come to this. She said Brooke kept insisting all she wanted was reassurance and that everyone had overreacted. Denise said, "Mason, reassurance is not supposed to require legal evidence folders." Exactly. Lauren also came around in a strange way. She dropped off one final box Brooke had left at her place and told me quietly that Brooke had been checking my social media followers every night and making spreadsheets of any new woman who appeared. Spreadsheets, as though jealousy had become a side business. I thanked her for telling me. Then I carried the box straight to Goodwill without opening it. Whatever was in there was not worth another thread. Around this same time, something good happened for once. Nolan offered me the lead on a new infrastructure project because, in his words, I had handled a ridiculous amount of personal chaos without letting it contaminate the team. The raise attached to it was $7,500 a year. Brooke somehow heard about that too. Her final email before the hearing said, "Hope she enjoys the promotion she helped you get." Again, no she. Unless she meant my own ability to function without being monitored. By then, I was too tired to even be angry. Mostly I wanted paperwork to do what peace had not been allowed to do naturally. Final update: the hearing was 3 weeks ago. Brooke arrived in a soft blue sweater, low makeup, and the kind of expression people wear when they want to seem fragile enough to excuse patterns. Marisol arrived with a thick folder, a clean timeline, and absolutely no interest in theatrics. The judge asked for the basics first: relationship length, living situation, date of breakup, then the contact after breakup. Marisol laid it out in order: blocked number texts, coworker harassment, property manager impersonation, fake pill scare, malicious HR complaint, doorbell footage, public confrontation on a date, voicemail implying nighttime monitoring. Brooke's attorney tried the usual closure argument: emotional distress, poor judgment, fear of abandonment, desire to repair the relationship. Marisol responded with what mattered. You do not repair a relationship by contacting coworkers, impersonating spouses, and stalking date locations. Then the judge listened to the voicemail. That changed the temperature in the room. The judge asked Brooke why she believed it was appropriate to monitor my residence after being told repeatedly to stop contacting me. Brooke said she was not monitoring me, just driving by because she was concerned. The judge asked why concern sounded like territory. That was a good question. The temporary order was granted for 1 year. No direct contact, no indirect contact through friends or family, no visits to my home or workplace, no electronic messages except through attorneys if strictly necessary. Outside the courtroom, Denise stopped me in the hall. She looked older than she had a month earlier. She said I was not the first man Brooke had tried to hold onto this way, just the first one who refused to negotiate with it. Then she apologized one last time and said she was getting Brooke into real therapy, not just quote posting and self-diagnosing. I told her I genuinely hoped it helped. A month after the hearing, I heard through Lee that Brooke had apparently lost her job. Not because of me directly, because she had used company time and equipment to stalk, message, and manage imaginary rivals more than once. Turns out jealousy looks less romantic when it hits a compliance audit. As for me, life got much quieter. The townhouse feels like mine again. No surprise phone checks. No weird silences when a woman's name comes up in conversation. No emotional weather systems forming because a bartender smiled too long. Harper and I did not rush into anything, but we kept seeing each other. Slowly. Normally. She knows the whole story. Her exact response was, "I'm interested in men, not investigations." That line made me laugh harder than anything had in weeks. Work is better. The new project is mine. The team is solid, and Nalan jokes that surviving Brooke probably qualifies as advanced crisis management. Lee still teases me that her husband was offended he never got credited as the real threat. The lesson in all of this is simpler than Brooke ever made anything. Jealousy is not love when it demands evidence instead of trust. It is not passion when it turns your phone into a crime scene and your coworkers into suspects. It is not devotion when it needs your world to get smaller so someone else can feel bigger inside it. I spent too long treating Brooke's jealousy like a wound I could help dress. It wasn't, it was a system. A system where I had to keep proving loyalty while she kept moving the line. Today it was a text. Tomorrow it was a smile. Next month it would have been a conference trip, a female neighbor, a cousin at Thanksgiving, or a nurse saying good morning in the elevator. There is no finish line in that kind of relationship. Only more rules. The night Brooke told me to go be with Lee, she thought she was threatening me with loss. What she did instead was describe the choice clearly enough for me to finally make one of my own. Not Lee, not another woman, just a life where I was not constantly being measured against accusations I never earned. That is what I chose. Peace sounds boring until you have lived without it. Then it sounds like winning. If you've ever dealt with jealousy like this, or if you think I made the right call, tell me in the comments. Subscribe, like, and share if you want more stories like this, and let me know what you would have done in my place.